became really obvious to me really quickly why the Jesus story is so poignant or whatever in that respect, because Jesus's occupation was carpentry. It's a really cool angle because, carpentry, you have to understand reality and the rules. Try to build a table and you've never done it before, you'll start to see the science behind carpentry. One leg is just a little too short. Measure twice, cut once. Like, all these rules that come into play in carpentry are so perfectly applicable to everything else in life that it's like, well, yeah, of course, the Messiah would be a carpenter. It's so perfect. It's beautiful. One of the things that I just love about all of this stuff is the beauty and simplicity and the elegance of all of these ideas. It's so satisfying, because you can build a table, a block of wood, a couple planks on top of it. That's a table. Or, you can really get into the aesthetic side of how to build a table. Good carpentry has its ability to be sort of transcendent in the way that it can go from this purely utilitarian thing into this art object. I love the fact that that is sort of analogous to what I think God has done with the universe, in the sense that it's not just nature that makes the garden. A garden has been pruned and prepared and managed by a gardener. If you just throw a bunch of stuff out in your backyard, that's not a garden. A garden is, there was a plan, and there was procedures, and there was maintenance, and devotion, and hopefully love. And what are you trying to do? You're trying to create a space that's natural, but that it's also made for man. It's curated, Once I woke up, I had a backyard. It was like a mud pit. I got really into all these stones and rocks, and I was collecting all these large boulders and stuff. And it was kind of a meditative thing of just spending time in that yard, digging in the dirt and moving stones around. And you're in the sun, it's physical. There's so many things happening. You're contemplating aesthetics. I advise anybody who's suffering or struggling, find a project like that. When you're suffering and you don't know what to do and you're lost maybe, sometimes you just need to act. That's what I meant earlier by practice. Sometimes in order to get ourselves out of these states of being, you need repetitive therapy, It's not unlike physical therapy. You're doing these exercises. I think that's a lot of what spiritual growth is about, is just like strengthening these muscles that you didn't know you had, or that you did and you just weren't using them properly or whatever. When I think about my relationship with my inner world, it's not unlike the gardening analogy. When I was in the worst of my depression, my mind was a messy place. It was not unlike the mud pit of the yard, before I really started to care for it. And your mind is very similar. If you don't care for it, you'll pollute it with a lot of different ideas or different things. In my case, my spiritual beliefs or my religious beliefs grew out of my materialism. That's probably the best way to describe me. I was a materialist. I really thought that matter gives rise to consciousness. That is what I believed. And I do think that if you could live long enough and you were a materialist, that all materialists are inevitably sort of forced in one way or another to confront their materialism, the lacking that is within materialism, because I think materialism is real, but it is only one side of the equation. And in the chart, the materialist side is the physical realm. That's the left side, which is really the root chakra, is representing physicality, but also biological processes. It's the act of being. You have a spiritual side, a spiritual component that is on the right side. There's a spiritual side of people that is ethereal. It's not made of matter. This is the realm of ideas, concepts. Some people refer to it as the Akashic Records. I came up with some sort of core concepts when I first woke up to this, and the Akashic Records really fit right into this idea that I had about the spiritual realm, that all human activity, all human memory is stored. There's a running record of everything we experience in the spirit realm that historically has been accessed by different guru types. I don't know if anybody's familiar with Rupert Sheldrake. He's been talking about this thing he calls the morphogenic field. Are the Akashic Records and the morphogenic field, are they trying to describe the same thing?